we've saved the best for last. It's Havencraft. This is the Havencraft Gloryfinder deck profile. Couple of notes as usual. 1. The cards are class locked except for neutrals. 2. This is only including cards up until Omen of the 10. And 3. There's 3 banned cards. All neutrals, that's Odin, Olivia and Lyriel. Other than that, every other card is fair game. And so, let's begin. Now, Haven is actually my favorite class of all time. In the digital version, the first deck I ever played and climbed with was Seraph Haven, all the way back then. And there's just something about heavy control decks, especially if there's an alternate win con, that just really tickles my fancy, so you could say. And so, this particular deck profile is very heavily control centered. Now, I don't know with the card pool that we've got right now whether you could make a decent Storm Haven deck. I suspect not. It probably will take a bit more support to make that viable. And so it does seem like Control Haven is the best we have right now. However, Gloryfinder did give Haven a lot of very new and powerful tools. The first being our Glory card, Garula, Ruler of Storms. Garula reads 6 play points, fanfare. If your leader is Haven, search your deck for a 3-cost amulet and a 1-cost amulet, summon them. So basically, you get to cheat out 4 play points worth of amulets from the deck. This is an extremely powerful turn 6 play, and really leans into the Haven amulet playstyle. However, it does have a few limitations, one being you need to build around having the amulets in the deck, and 2, if you draw them, that can be a problem. It doesn't summon from your hand. Now, why do you want amulets on your field apart from just cheating them out? Well, Garula has an Evo as well. At the start of your end phase, select the enemy leader or follower, deal a damage equal to the number of amulets on your field. This is a decent Evo, but let's be real, right? It's either 2 to 4 damage. And to get 4, you need to already have 2 amulets on your field before playing Garula. That's a little bit tricky to do. And it probably isn't even optimal to do. The reason being, you are going to run out of board space very quickly. If you have Garula and 4 amulets on the field, you are completely board locked. And that's not really a good thing. If you have Garula and 3 amulets, that's alright, I guess. Garula and 2 is the most likely situation. And then you only do 2 to something. Like, is that really, like, 2 play point cards have that same evolve effect? Heck, even Bellringer Angel has that same effect, but it just can't hit face. So the Evo isn't really that important. It's just the tempo and the draw, you could say, because you essentially draw 2 and play 2. On the fanfare, that's important. Because of this, you probably just slam it down even if you can't evolve it. Right? On turn 6, you slam it down even if you don't have an Evo point. You don't really care because the Evo is not that strong. That being said, the fanfare is strong, so we are going to build around it. Let's go through the 1 and 3 drop amulets we've put into the deck. The first card is Sacred Plea. Sacred Plea, classic Havencraft card, 1 play point, tap, put this card into your cemetery, draw a card. So you can play it for 1, tap to immediately draw a card. It's pretty much an amulet insight. Or you could play it for 1, tap for 2 play points and draw 2. So a 3 play point, draw 2, which is also pretty standard in terms of PP to draw ratio. This is always the card you want to pull off of Garula. The other 3 1-drop amulets that we pull are suboptimal compared to this, so you're actually hoping not to draw it. Ideally, if it's in your starting hand and you think you could, you could do better, then you probably should mulligan it in if you're planning on Garulaing on turn 6. Why do I say that it's the best pull from Garula? Well, it's because the other 3 1-drop amulets are quite situational. So the first one we'll talk about is the Will to Overtake. This is a Uma Musume amulet which reads, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, rearrange them in any order. You can also put any number of them on the bottom of your deck. So you basically stack the deck. Other than that, you can pay 2 to put it into the cemetery and draw a card. So it becomes a 3 play point, draw 1. However, you can stack the top 3 cards of the deck so it draws less, but you have some sort of control over what you draw. Now, why don't you want to play this with Garula? Well, because it's a very nice combo piece. What is a combo with? Well, it was pretty much made for a different Uma Musume card called Gold Ship. Gold Ship is an extremely funny card. It's an 8 play point 8/8 with fanfare. Reveal a top card of your deck. Deal X damage to each enemy leader and give your leader plus X. X equals the revealed follower's cost. So, if you reveal a 6 play point card, you deal 6 damage to each other opponent and you heal 6. That can be a very, very powerful effect. The highest cost card we run in this deck is 9. However, it can also be a very disappointing effect because we run a lot of 1, 2, 3, 4 drops. This is why you want to keep Will to Overtake to combo with it. Now, if you already have this in your hand, maybe you could turn 7 Garula into turn 8 Gold Ship, that's fine. However, if you don't have it in your hand, you kind of want to save it for this combo. The thing with Haven is that apart from grinding you out, it doesn't have any instant guaranteed win cons. Because it's so control based, the main way you win is just exhaustion. So cards like Gold Ship do help a lot with that, to apply a bit of pressure, especially because of its other effect, which is pay 10 to give this follower plus 10 plus 10. What does that mean? That means if you play this on turn 9, you get the fanfare, that's fine. If it survives until turn 10, then you pay 10 to make this 18/18 and go face. So a very strong finisher if you can get it off. For that reason, you don't really want to take Will to Overtake from Garula. However, if there's nothing else, it's not a bad option. The next 1 play point amulet is also situationally similar. It's Realm of Repose. Realm just says, quick, bury this card for the rest of this turn. If your leader would take more than 4 damage, it takes 4 instead. This is pretty much a dead card on your board until very late game. And even then it's only valuable against maybe a huge dragon or a storm sword board. If people are attacking you with say a 10 attack and a 7 attack follower, then this can nullify quite a lot of that damage. However, On the turn you play Garula, that's not going to happen. Maybe you'll negate 2 or 3 damage at most. This really is a late game card, and because of that, if you play it down on turn 6 with Garula, it's going to just be sitting on your board for ages. Which isn't inherently bad, but again, one of the problems with a heavy control deck is you run out of board space. Not only you run out of board space, but you run out of hand space pretty quickly. Because we play a lot of reactive cards, if there's nothing to react to, your hand just fills up with reactive cards which you can't play. So, board space and hand space is actually one of the main problems of this particular heavy control deck. If you can't pull Sacred Plea, or you've already drawn it or something like that, I would suggest probably Realm of Repose. Again, we don't really want to use this until we can combo it with Gold Ship. So it's kind of up to you though. If you don't care about the combo, you just want the draw and the stacking the deck, fine, go for Will to Overtake. If not though, this is the other one you should. So those are the 3 amulets that you should pill with Garula. However, I did say we run 4. Well, that's because the last one, Guardian Sun, is actually part of another combo. Guardian Sun reads Fanfare, give a follower on your field ward. If you tap 2, you give a ward follower +2/+1. Why is this a combo card? Well, I'm sure you might have guessed. It's actually because it combos with Aegis, Heavenly Aegis. Aegis has Aura. This card can't be destroyed by abilities. It can be destroyed by ability damage though. But if you evolve it for 2 or discarding 3, for the rest of this turn and during each opponent's next turn, this follower doesn't take damage, and it can't be destroyed by abilities. So the combo is, you play Aegis, evolve it, then give it ward with Guardian Sun, engage, nothing can get through it. You have a 10/10 invincible ward. So you become essentially invincible yourself for an entire turn. Then it untaps, you can swing for 10, or even if you pay 2, it becomes 12. So a massive combo. This combo essentially is one of the win cons. It can stabilize and or close out the game, but it's not guaranteed, right? You need to draw the sun, you need to be in a position to play Aegis, so on and so forth. Because of that, you do not want to waste it by pulling it out of Garula. This is, again, one of your only and main win cons, along with the Will to Overtake Gold Ship combo. So it's rather unfortunate, isn't it? 2 of the 1-drop amulets that you want to pull from Garula are part of combos which you actually want to save. It becomes a real problem then if you draw 2 or 3 of the 1-drop amulets, because then you lose a lot of value from Garula. Let's say that you were quote-unquote unlucky and you already drew these 3 amulets. Well, if you play Garula, do you pull out Guardian Sun? I would say no. You just don't want to do it. Sure, you miss a 1 play point of value. Sure, you miss filtering your deck from 1 card, but no. I would suggest never pulling this from Garula. It's too important to combo with Aegis. On the other hand, if you only pull these 2, if you only unluckily drew these 2, I would still go for the Will to Overtake, even though you lose out on the Gold Ship combo. The reason being, the Gold Ship combo with Will to Overtake is actually not that consistent. the deck runs, again, as I said before, a lot of low-cost followers. So even if you will to overtake, a lot of times I've flipped those 3 and they've all been under 4 cost. And I'm like, okay, damn, that's useless. Put them all on the bottom. Then when I play Gold Ship, reveal the 4th card, it's 2 cost. So, right? Even though it's a very nice combo, I honestly have not ever been able to get past a 5 hit from the Fanfare yet. But one day, I will hit something like Aegis and deal 8 to everything. Cool. Those are the 1-drop amulets, and we've already gone through 2 of the high drop cards as well. Aegis and Gold Ship. We might revisit them later on, but for now, let's carry on with the 3-drop amulets. The first 3-drop we have is a classic, Beastcall Aria. I remember, in the Seraph deck, in Shadowverse Digital, this was a staple card. But what would happen is, because it summoned 2 cards when the countdown finished, you would often see people, not me of course, I would never do such a silly thing, where they had 3 cards on board, and Beastcall Aria and Seraph. So when Beastcall Aria counted down and summoned the 2 tokens, the Seraph would also count down, but it would be the last one that would go off the board and be banished instead, so you would lose your win con. It's very, very funny. I know from, because not from first-hand experience, of course, but yeah. In physical, it has changed a little bit. It becomes Fanfare, summon a Holy Falcon token, which is a 2/2 storm. Now this caught me off guard a lot, because in digital it's always a 2/1 storm. And so there were a few times where I traded in and I thought it was dead, where it still would have lived because it attacked the 1 attack follower. So yeah, 2/2 storm, they buffed it, I guess. They did nerf the amulet though, it's a 3 now, not a 2. But it also has a tap. So you tap for 2, you summon a 4/4 Holy Tiger with Rush. That's pretty good. The fact that it has Rush as well is a buff. So, very nice card, very staple card. This is probably what you want to pull from Garula every time. However, there is one other option, just in case you draw this and can't pull it. There's the Ancient Amplifier. Fanfare, summon a Mystic Artifact token. The Mystic Artifact token is a 2/3 ward with Fanfare, draw a card. So this is great. If you cheat it out with Garula, you immediately draw a card, you get a ward as well. Very nice. It also has a tap 1 effect. Put this card into your cemetery and then give a token follower +2/+1. So you could have a 4/4 ward with the Mystic Artifact. You could have a 4/3 Storm Eagle if you also have the Aria, or a 6/5 Rush Tiger. Apart from that, there's actually no other tokens we run. These are the only 2 cards which produce tokens. So that effect is only applicable with the artifact itself, or if you're lucky to combo into Beastcall Aria. However, that's not a problem. You can activate this tap effect without a token follower just to get it off the board, which is very important because, again, board space is kind of hard with Haven. You have a lot of amulets, so there are times where you need the board space. In that case, you can pay 1 to remove it and then free up some. Sure, it doesn't feel good to have to pay 1 or waste the tap effect, but sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do. The next 3 cost amulet is a Gloryfinder exclusive one, Noble Fangs. This reads, Fanfare, select the enemy follower on the field and a follower on your field. Deal the first follower damage equal to the second's attack. So basically you select the follower on your field to attack the opponent follower, but it doesn't get attacked back. Pretty good removal tool, especially with Garula. If you pull it, you suddenly deal 5 to any other follower. So a very nice use of the Garula one as well. If you're not playing for tempo and you need removal, then you definitely pull this. It also has a quick effect, which is pay 3, do the same effect, so you deal 5 to another follower, but also it hits face. Now, I was playing this effect wrong the entire time. It was only until my friend tried out the deck that he said, oh, don't you die? I deal 10 to a follower and then 10 to your face. I'm like, what? This doesn't hit face. But actually, no. On the quick effect, you choose a follower on your field and you deal damage to a follower and the leader's face. Whereas the fanfare is just the follower. So actually a really, really powerful card. If you play it down, you can surprise people quite a bit. Let's say you have the Aegis, right? The Aegis or Gold Ship even. You could deal a lot of damage face. Do you have to select to do it? You probably do have to select. They probably do have to have something on the board as a ruling. But in either case, just a really strong effect. That being said, you know, the actual quick effect, you might consider a mid to late game. Because it does cost a lot, 3. And you do have to have a very strong card on board. Preferably 5 or above. Maybe 7 might be good. So yeah. The good thing though is that even if you pull it out early, and you can't really get the max value of the quick effect, you can recur amulets in this deck. And there's a couple of cards that do that we'll get to later. There is one other 3-drop amulet. Now we run 4, same as with 1-drop amulets, we also run 4 of that, just for consistency's sake. Right? Just in case you draw all these 3, or just in case maybe you don't have enough room to summon another token along with it and you don't want to waste it. We do have one other option, but I gotta say it's not a good one. It's Ancient Protector. What does this do? While this card is on your field, you can't lose the game, and opponents can't win. If your leader's defense becomes 0 or less, put this card into the cemetery and change your leader's defense to 1. Okay, that sounds broken, right? You get to survive with 1 health on anything and you can't lose the game? That sounds pretty broken, right? It isn't. Now, there's only 2 times where this is procced for me in all my games. The first time, it saved me for the turn, but I still lost again next turn. I still lost the next turn because, you know, I couldn't swing back. And the second time, it procced, and then the other opponent just hit me in the face again, and so I died. Right? So, especially in 4-player, this is... I mean, it's just not a good card. Even in 1v1 constructed, it's not a good card. Because it doesn't save you, it just blocks 1 attack or something. Add to that, there's a major downside, was that if you pull it off Garula, it's just stuck on your board for the rest of the game. You can't remove it. Like, you could Bahamut it or something yourself, but do you want to do that? It's just... It's really bad, I must say, despite it reading and looking very good. So it stays on your board for forever if you pull it off Garula. And for what benefit? Like 1 extra damage on the Evo? Sure, you get to draw, aka filter a card from the deck, but Still, at the same time though, I kinda like running it. Even though it's bad and useless in so many situations, I can't help but wonder, like, damn, like, maybe one day this could make the difference. Maybe one day I will claw my way back from the depths of defeat with this card. You know, I can't help but have that fantasy. And the thematics of Haven is what I really like the class for, so this just fits in really well. But yeah, it's not a particularly good card. It's not gonna save you, maybe once in a blue moon, but if you like blue moons, then add it in. Alright, those are all the 1 and 3 cost amulets. We do run a couple more amulets that aren't those costs. And there are a lot of more powerful amulets as well, which are like 2 cost and so on. But just because we're building around Garula, we are kind of limiting them. Maybe that's not for the best. Maybe we shouldn't build around Garula. Who knows? But anyway. The next card is Genesis of Legend. 4 playpoint amulet. Fanfare, each player reveals up to 1 non-spell card from their hand. And whoever revealed the second highest cost summons it. Okay, I've talked about this before in the Abysscraft showcase. Basically, you can treat it almost like a discard amulet. What do I mean by that? Well, let's say you play it and you lose the joust. The joust being you reveal the card. So another player gets to summon a card. Well, what you can do next is just Themis their entire board. Maybe in fact you're losing on purpose, so with the plan of Themising anyway. Maybe you play this and you reveal a 1 cost follower, knowing that it won't be the second highest. Do you force someone to summon something and then you Themis? Let's introduce Themis. You should know what this is. Destroy each follower on the field. Another classic Havencraft card. There's also another combo you could do, which is, I find very, very funny. You use a Gloryfinder exclusive card, which we might not have seen before. This might be the first time I'm introducing it. Loki. Loki is a 6/6/6 ward fanfare. During your next turn, your fanfare abilities trigger 2 times. This is a very key combo piece in Haven for many different kinds of combos. But for instance, for this one, you play it during the previous turn, fanfare. Then on your next turn, you play Genesis of Legend. You purposely lose twice so that there's 2 opponent summons, and then you Themis them. So it effectively becomes a discard 2 from hand. Very funny, very funny. The other effect is a quick effect, is tap 2, bury this card, select the enemy following the field and destroy it. So a 2 playpoint removal. Again, that's kind of the idea of this card, is if you play it on 6, you either pull something from your own hand, or if not, if the opponent wins, you can tap and destroy it anyway. So you can use it like that. However, I'm very particular to the Genesis Themis combo. One important thing as well that I just realized recently actually is that you can reveal amulets. Very powerful for Haven if you manage to reveal an amulet like the next one, Tribunal of Good and Evil. You can get some big value off of it. So yeah, that's Genesis of Legend. We will move on now to the Tribunal of Good and Evil, which we'll pretend was summoned by the Genesis. This is a very simple card, also a classic Haven card. 5 play points fanfare, set the enemy follower on the field and destroy it. Good. Yeah, not bad. Maybe a bit overcosted, you might think, and you'll be right. However, The reason this card is so good, 1, because it's the amulet, and 2, because you can remove it from your board at any time. With the tap effect, put this card into your cemetery, no cost, draw a card. Because of this, if you do something like Tribunal into Garula, you can have 3 amulets on the board with the 2 summoned from here. You deal 3 damage, that's nice, but whenever you need board space, you can just crack this to draw a card. So it's very nice. You can also revive it as well, put it back onto the field, and just having a generic destroyer follower is very nice to have in Haven. Now the last amulet we run, the best amulet of all, my favorite card in the entire game, in the entire history of Shadowverse, in fact. It's my girl Lapis, or in Statute Seraph is the amulet name. This card cannot be destroyed by abilities. At the start of your end phase, put a counter on this. When it has 4, you can gain 10 health and put 2 cards from your deck into your EX area and change their costs to 0. A very powerful effect. Now in the original digital game, if you had 4 counters or it passed 4 turns, you won the game outright. And I think it's good that they didn't put that specification into here. They changed it to a much more interesting effect. But yeah, that was the reason I loved Haven. Seraph, the Seraph deck, is really the reason I loved Haven so much. And God, I love the thematic. I love the thematic like progression of statue, and then it slowly revives until the last statue where you just win the game. God, it's so cool, so cool. I love this so much. So talking a bit about the card itself, 6 play points and you wait 4 turns is a long time. You can just lose the game before then. And is it a good card? Probably not. Like, it's not particularly good, even though you start at 3 play points in Gloryfinder. The reason being, if you don't draw this on 6, if you don't play this on 6, when are you going to play it? And how long is it going to take? If you play this on turn 10, like, the game is over before you're able to activate it. So you really want to play this as early as possible to have any major impact with it. It's because of this fact that sometimes I just run this as my glory card. Even though the entire deck is built around Garula, I still, I gotta represent my girl. So she is actually my favorite glory card to run in this deck, even though Garula is arguably stronger. The sole reason being you can guarantee playing this on 6, and you can guarantee, so 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, on your 10th turn having 10 extra health, and also having 2 0 cost cards to combo with in your EX area. We'll talk a bit more about combos later, specific combos later, but I mean, for instance, you could do a gold ship for 0. If you're at 10 play points, you immediately activate it for 10. If you have already, then you can combo like a Noble Fangs or something, although that does require an extra turn. You can combo these 2, even though it's kind of a waste with the 1-drop. I don't know, there's just a lot you can do with it. However, I would say the best combo is actually Loki and something else. The reason being, Haven has a lot of very good fanfare effects, especially on the high cost followers. So, if you make Loki 0, You can play it at any time to set up for the next turn. The main weakness of Loki is its 6 cost, which makes it very hard to do anything else on that turn that you play it. If you pull it with Seraph though, it's just sitting there. Right? For 0, you can still play it at any time, on any turn without affecting your other plays. So once you have the combo ready in your hand, you drop it, and then combo off next turn. Loki is definitely one of the best cards to pull with in Statute Seraph. However, it has to be in your deck. Remember, Seraph only pulls the cards from your deck, which is a problem. If you draw this, well, there is one way to put it back. And that way is a 1-cost card, Mystic Ring. Spell, put a card from your hand on the bottom of your deck, draw a card. This spell is absolutely essential to run within Statute Seraph. Right? If you draw all your win cons, your high cost cards, what was the point of playing Seraph? Drawing this alongside it guarantees you get at least 1 back into the deck. You play it on the end of turn 9, which will guarantee you pull it at the end so that it's ready for turn 10. And you can put like a Aegis back on the bottom of your deck, so it only costs 0, and then you can combo off of that. So very, very important card to combo with Seraph. Loki, again, a very good card to pull from Seraph. What about the other card? Well, that's kind of up to you. There are a lot of options there. We might talk about them as the video goes on, but we're going to put both of these over here because we'll likely talk about them more as well. Okay, let's get on with the bulk of the showcase. We're going from lowest cost to highest cost now. We've gone through all the amulets and some special combos. Let's go through the main bulk of the good stuff. Prism Priestess, 1 cost to evolve. When you evolve, search your deck for an amulet, reveal it, add to your hand. That's it, you just search an amulet. It's a perfect turn 1 play. There's not much else you can say, right? It's just a great card. You want it every game. And you just search whatever you want. Preferably not a 1 or 3 cost for Garula, right? If you play it after Garula, just search anything. But if you play it before, which you do kind of want to do, maybe get the Seraph if it's in your deck and not running it with Glory. I think Tribunal is quite good as well. And if you really want to, Genesis. But in any case, very, very nice. Let's move on. We have Wingy Chirpy Gemstone. It's a 1 play point, evolve 2, again another perfect turn 1 play. It evolves on Ward. Search your deck for a follower 2 attack or less, reveal it, and add it to your hand. Those Haven just thematically runs a lot of low attack, high health followers. And what Wingy does is it helps you like chain effects to get what you want. So let's say you evolve Wingy, you can get Prism Priestess in your hand, and next turn Prism Priestess to get an amulet, let's say. So that's basically the idea, is there's a lot of cards which can search either this or this or this to get to the specific amulet you want. In this case, there's a very nice combo there. One other card which helps with this is, we're going to skip ahead a little bit, Elysian Saint Hears. Fanfare, choose one of the following. Search your deck for a 1 cost follower, hint hint, summon it, then shuffle your deck. Basically, you play this to get Wingy, you evolve Wingy to pull Prism Priestess into your hand. Next turn you play Prism to evolve, get the amulet you want. So a nice long chain. And the good thing about doing it in this order is that you start filtering your deck really early. If you have Elysian, St. Here's, you filter 3 cards out of your deck already, guaranteed. Of course, if you've already drawn Wingy or something like that, you can pull the Prison Priestess just on its own. But yeah, very flexible. It does have a second effect though on its Fanfare, which you can use instead. Select the card in your banish zone and add it to your hand. That has hardly ever come up, unless you play against another Haven, of course. But yeah, most classes do not have access to banish. And since we banned Odin, a Gloryfinder exclusive card, rightly so, might I add, there's not really a good generic banish for any class that's neutral. So yeah, that doesn't really come up. You're mainly just running it to pull a 1-cost follower. Now you might be wondering, wait a minute, doesn't Elysian St. Here's have an Evo? Well, yes, it does. Its Evo says, draw a card. That's decent. Each player rolls a 6-sided dice, and each player with the highest roll gives their leader +3 and draws a card. So a little bit of gambling here. You roll some dice, and whoever rolls highest draws card and heals. In this case, since we both rolled 1s, let's say, both players would draw a card and heal. It's an interesting effect, but with 4 players, what's the chance of you winning? It's like, it's not 1 out of 4, it's slightly higher because you win draws as well, but I can't do the math in my head. But yeah, it's not a bad Evo, but it does have the potential to help other people, which makes it kind of bad. But it's fine, because you hardly ever Evo this card. The reason being, when you play this, you get one of these instantly on your field, and then you would Evo one of these instead, since you can only Evo once. So it's fine if the Evo isn't particularly good. It's fine if you never use it, because you were going to use it on a better card instead. Yeah. So Elysian is a Gloryfinder exclusive card. I quite like it. It's very cute. I never played with this particular deck in the digital one, but I think it was something like fill your deck with 1-cost followers and then swarm the board. Haven has a lot of rabbit cards, but I think they should have more. Okay, returning back to the 1-drop followers, we have a very interesting pick, quite spicy. Megiro Arden. What does this do? It's ward. At the start of your main phase, if there are no Megiro family followers with a different name on your field, return this card to your hand. Interesting. Do we run Megiro family followers? No. This is the only Megiro card we run. But why? Well, it's a 1-cost 3/3 with ward. That's really good stat. But wait, you can't attack with it. It just goes back every turn. What's the point of this card? Well, the point is just to set up a wall every single turn. Let me ask you something. If you're playing against this card, Megiro Arden, you see it warded like this with nothing else on my board. Do you commit resources into removing it? Do you attack into it? Do you use a removal spell on it? Probably not. Like, it's such a waste of resources to remove what is essentially a useless card. You would never use a spell on this unless it was part of like a larger AoE. And you would not want to trade 1-for-1 for this card in a battle. Maybe if you had like 5 health you could run into this, but is it worth losing 2 health on your follower if you do attack and finally remove this? Sometimes, but you know, it still like feels a little bit bad. So this is a very nice defensive tool in 4 players, because even though it's kind of useless, if you have it on your field, the opponents are like, too much trouble, I'll just attack someone else instead. It's very good for table politics. I really, really love this card. As soon as I put it in, I was like, yes, right? It's, of course, it's kind of up to you. It's a very spicy pick, I must say, but I like some spice. I like some spicy noodles. Another little advantage is you can race. However, no, I do not run any carrots in my evolved deck. So you actually can't race it at all. Maybe I should run at least 1 carrot, because I do run stuff like the gold ship. So I can't rush that if needed. There probably is a way I can free up an evolve slot for a carrot. Maybe I can get rid of the Elysian Saint Here's evolve for a carrot, since I probably won't be using that anyway. But yeah, if you race it, it could be a nice, efficient removal tool. But another point about this card, which is actually my favorite point, is that it essentially makes your hand 8 cards big. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, Haven, as I said before, it has a lot of trouble with hand space. We run a lot of reactive cards, and the proactive cards are like amulets, so they clog up the board to the point where sometimes you can't even play cards if you want to. Megiddo Arden is essentially a way of having 8 cards in your hand without discarding. So you have 7 and Megiddo in your hand. You can just play this out at any time. It's cheap, it's 1 cost, you probably have that. And you have 7. However, because this returns to your hand at the start of your next turn, it's as if you still had 8 cards in your hand. So a nice bit of card advantage there actually. But yeah, I don't know, I just love running these obscure cards like these, especially in Gloryfinder where they can have interesting uses. And in this case, I'm pretty sure no one would have thought to include this card, but it's good, it's good. Next, this is the last 1-drop card. It's a Dark Offering. 1 playpoint quick spell, select a card in your field, destroy it, and heal 3, draw a card. So this is perfect. Again, your board does get filled up with amulets quite a lot, and so you can sack them if needed, not only to free up board space, but to heal and draw 1. So it's a nice insight with a benefit. If you do pull this off of Garula, you probably don't even wait for it to go off, because it never will. Right? You just immediately Dark Offering it, or whenever you want to Dark Offering it for a free draw 1. So I guess that is one advantage of running a quote-unquote useless amulet. Anyway, let's move on. We have Demon's Epitaph. 2 playpoint 2/2 not fanfare, Evo. If you discard a card, you can Evo it. You don't have to pay anything. You just discard a card. Discard is not the best. You know, why would you want to discard cards, right? If you run a card in Gloryfinder especially, then you want to use it. There's only 1 copy of it. But it's actually a fair trade. The Demon's Epitaph evolves into a 3/3 Bane. Rush. Last words, deal 2 damage to each enemy leader. So it's not an overpowered effect, it's an okay effect, it's fine, it's good. It's a 2 playpoint removal essentially, if you discard a card for cost. It's okay. The discard doesn't really affect us that much. Again, we always pretty much have a full hand as Haven, so there's always going to be 1 card which is at least a little lackluster in the current situation. The fact that it doesn't use play points to evolve is really the main reason we run it. Because it's just overall a solid card. and dealing 2 damage to each enemy leader is 6 total. So, hey, 6 is not an insignificant amount. Next we have Disciple of Repose. At the start of each opponent's main phase, select an enemy following the field, deal it 1 damage. This is a really cool political card. So it triggers 3 times, once on each opponent's turn. That means it can, by itself, remove a 3-drop just in 1 turn cycle. And then you can negotiate with the opponents, like, hey, right, which one of your followers should I be removing? Should I ping that, or should I ping that? And then you can make some little bargains and stuff. So it's good for that. The only problem though is it's nice in the early game, say 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 drop. However, once you get to the late game, it's pretty useless. It falls off really fast. It's also pretty easy to remove as well if people need it. It just gets destroyed by an incidental removal a lot of the times. So yeah, it's not the strongest. You could consider cutting this for sure. But I kind of like the situations where it's good. You can make little deals, so on and so forth. I like it. Next is a Gloryfinder exclusive card. It's Greater Priestess. 2 play point ward, 1/4, which is a nice stat line. Fanfare, select a card in opponent's EX area and banish it. Very nice. There's some classes like Rune, Forest, Dragon to some extent, which puts some good cards into their EX area. Especially think Lashina and her amulets. This can save you a lot of strife, and played at the right moment is very powerful. However, it's very niche, so aside from the moments where it banishes an EX area, it's pretty useless. Right? If nobody's using their EX area or there's nothing good in it, there's no point having this card. Because a 1/4 ward is like, okay, it's nice stats, but is that really going to protect you from anything? Despite that though, just because of the low cost for the effect and its power in those niche situations, this is definitely a must include. Especially because like the only other option for removing EX area stuff is Erd, which is quite expensive and also uses up an Evo slot. And in Haven, just like with Sword, your Evo slots are at a premium. Next we have Blackened Scripture, a classic Havencraft card. 2 play point quick, banish a follower 3 defense or less. Nothing much else to say here. The fact that it's banish instead of discard or destroy, very, very good. Excellent. There are quite a lot of 2-drops that not 2-drops, but 3. There's quite a lot of cards in general that you want to banish. And so if you can get them down to 3, this is a perfect, efficient removal tool. Especially because it's quick, so you can save yourself. Next we have a Lena, Sister of Judgment. We're going to 3-drops now. This is a Gloryfinder exclusive card which says Fanfare. Select an opponent. They bury a follower. Give your leader health equal to the buried follower's defense. This card is so broken. No, not broken. It's just really, really good. It's so good that if we didn't class lock every deck would run this. Why? It's because this removal effect goes through everything. It goes through stuff like Aegis, it goes through Aura, it goes through Intimidate. It goes through every single kind of protection. Because, 1, you don't actually select the follower, right? You select the opponent. 2, you're not destroying it, you're making the opponent bury it itself. It's not a destruction effect. And so this hard counters any kind of can't be any kind of protection. And then Statute Seraph, it says this can't be destroyed by abilities. Right? This isn't a destroy, it's a bury. That's important as well because bury, when you look at Abysscraft, when you bury cards, you don't actually activate their last word effect. So, I think that's wrong. If you bury cards from the deck, you don't activate their last word effect. If it's from the field, you still do. But still, this is just a removal. The extra health is a bonus as well. The only restriction, the only thing you have to worry about is that if they have multiple followers on field, they pick which one. So you essentially want to get rid of everything else except the one you want targeted and then slam this down. A 1/4 Lane of Judgment, it does have ward as well. And it does have an evo, which is alright. It's not the best, but it's good. Gains Bane now, 2/5. At the start of your end phase, each opponent who has a follower with X attack on their field deals 4 damage to the leader. X equals the highest attack amongst followers on the field. The problem with this is that if you have the highest attack follower on the field, this does nothing. Right? And it's just 4 damage, but 4 damage can be impactful. It only hits one leader as well, unless 2 people have the highest attack follower with the same number, which is very rare. I don't think there's been a single time where this evo has gone off and there's been 2 different players with the same attack, which is highest. So yeah, the main reason you play it is just for that fanfare effect. The evo is just a bonus. One little thing, right? The fanfare is a fanfare and does combo with Loki. If you combo this with Loki, you make someone bury 2 cards. So that's another nice use of this doubling fanfare effect. Next we have another Gloryfinder card, Valhallan General. 3 playpoint aura, at the start of your end phase, change this follow's defense to 4. So, 1, you can't get rid of it with targeted effects. 2, it heals at the end of every turn. So it's quite sticky. Although I must say, attacking into 4 health and destroying it like that isn't too hard. Even with the evolve, which brings it to a 5/5, it's still not that hard to remove, but it can be quite sticky. On evolve, there is another effect, engage each enemy follower on the field. This again is a very strong effect because it goes through aura. And there's quite a few cards which people just never attack with them, they just keep them reserved. So they have aura or they have high health and they keep doing the effects. So this is a counter to that. So it heals at the end of every turn. It's fine, especially against a kind of board full of tokens. But again, the earlier you play this, the stickier it is. Late into the game, it's quite squishy, but the evo effect is probably just worth it anyway. So very nice. Final 3-drop card is Apostle of Repose. Apostle is a 3 playpoint 2/4. At the start of each opponent's end phase, recover 1 playpoint. We don't actually play Float Haven. Now I know there's a lot of support for Float Haven in the latest booster packs, and I'm sure I'm going to be adding a lot of them in once they do update the card pool. However, as of right now, this is pretty useless. When you evolve, it does go up to 2 play points recovered, which is fine, but still, we don't run that many quick cards in this particular deck. So, it's mostly useless right now. However, the main reason you want to run this card is because on evolve, it also banishes a reserved enemy follower. Again, this counters those cards which people never attack with because they have effects that they want to keep going. Or maybe just a card that was just played and couldn't attack on the opponent's turn. It's a banish as well. So, Spawn of the Abyss, very, very good card to target with Apostle. And other stuff like that. So, definitely needed this card as another form of reserved removal, because we don't have many spells that deal exactly the same thing. Okay, moving on. We have the 4-cost followers. It's Cruel Priestess. First one is Fanfare, so the enemy follower, set an amulet that costs 5 play points or less in your cemetery, put it on your field. So you can recycle any one of your amulets, which is very, very good. You can, for example, get the Uemusume amulet to try this again. You could get Tribunal, you could pretty much get everything. The Noble Fangs as well. So very important to have this in your deck, just to pull off some more power plays. Especially because a lot of the amulet effects are very powerful. Unfortunately, you can't get back Seraph because it costs too much. However, even if you could, I don't think you would. I would though, for the memes, but I don't think it's optimal, of course. Then we have Radiance Angel. This was another staple in Seraph Haven. It's decent cards, so 4 play point, ward, Fanfare, draw a card. That's decent already. Now if you spend 1 more to evolve, you do gain Rush to trade, and on evolve, heal 2. It's not a particularly strong evolve, I must say. Just healing 2 is quite weak. And I think this was one of the earlier cards printed, so the power level is not as high. You could easily, I think, replace this card, or even just the Evo for a carrot, or just some better 4-drop card. I mean, the draw is nice, the ward is nice, the heal is alright, but overall, it just seems a little bit underpowered. It's definitely on the list of considerations when upgrading this deck. Other than that though, I just like it for nostalgia reasons. It was just a very good card in Digital Seraph Havencraft. Next we have Jeanne d'Arc. Fanfare, deal 2 damage to each enemy follower on the field. If you evolve for 2, whoops, wrong way around. Deal 2 damage to each enemy follower on the field again, and give each other follower on your field +2. So you pretty much just use this card as a 6 play point board clear. Deal 4 damage to each enemy follower. Typically, at least this Havencraft deck does not flood the board with followers. It floods it with amulets. So the second half of the effect, the gain 2 health to each follower, isn't going to be that impactful. Isn't going to be that useful. There are some niche situations where it does help. However, the main reason you run this card is for the removal. Gene itself. Okay, next card, Archpriestess Layla. This is a kind of spicy tech card. While this card is on your field, your followers deal damage equal to their defense. This is one of the reasons why we do run cards like Gene that buff the health. Because all of a sudden, if you get this down and next turn you Gene Evo, you are dealing 8 damage. And it's a surprise, right? Assuming opponents don't really know that you're running this kind of health-based attack. You could even just put down like a different high-cost follower. Let's say you have an evolved Apostle of Repose. They're expecting 3 damage if they leave it on board. But nope, you put it down, they're getting 5. And there's some more extreme examples of that as well, which we might talk about later. But yeah, if you evolve it, at the start of your end phase, it gains +2. So it's not that important to evo, but you do become a 0-8, so basically an 8 attack follower, which is pretty threatening. I do remember there was, what was it called, like Summit Haven or Lila? It was first Lila Haven and then Summit Haven, which was like a kind of strategy where you dealt attack equal to your health. I do remember fiddling around with it a bit when it was out. However, it was a pretty bad deck, like it didn't really function well. The thing with this little package here is that the core Havencraft cards do already buff health and are good in and of themselves. So dropping Layla in there as kind of like a surprise tech card actually works pretty well. Next card, we're on to the neutrals. It's Erd. Now I did say before that we don't run like Erd is not as good as, what was the name? A Greater Priestess. It's not as good at it because it's more expensive. However, I gotta be honest, I'm a sucker for removal cards. So we do still run Erd as well. Ban Fierce, let the enemy follow the field. Put it into owner's EX area. And then when you evo, you banish it. So even just another targeted banish is very good for the deck. This is the main counter to Abysscraft Spawn of the Abyss stuff. To stop it from recurring itself, you just banish it and you run as many banishes as possible to ensure that it gets banished. Sword also has some very nice last word cards, so it's helpful for that as well. Other than that, it's just a generic 4+1 5 removal for stuff like big dragon followers, so yeah, it's decent, it's not bad. It's definitely something you can remove though, right? But that's up to you. Next is a Gloryfinder card, some good defensive option. It's Athena. Last words, let the enemy lead and deal 3 damage, so a little bit of aggression there, but the main reason we run it is while this card is reserved on your field, it takes damage instead of your leader. So essentially, you gain 6 health while this card is on your field. Now you never attack with it because then the passive goes away. You keep it reserved like this, which is why I run cards like this to get rid of reserved followers. And you really just gain 6 health or more. So let's say someone hits for 5, this goes down to 1. Let's say someone hits for 5 again. All the 5 goes into this, so you essentially gained 10 health. It doesn't overflow onto you. It's like if you attacked a 5 play point. If you attacked with 5 attack into a 1 health follower, it doesn't take extra damage. It just dies. And so that's what happens here as well. It's at least 6 healing, if not more. Usually a little bit more. On to the 4-cost spells, we have Acolyte's Light. Again, just another targeted banish. This time it's quick, which is even better. And you gain +2. So very good card. Having some floating play points makes this even better, because I have had trouble leaving enough play points to play this as a quick on other players' turn. Usually I have to just hard cast it on my turn just because of the current board state. But yeah, it's a very nice card to just be holding in your hand just in case anything scary comes out. So very recommended. Better than Erd if you want to replace Erd. Next is Execution. Execution is not a particularly good card. This is just Destroy. However, it says destroy an enemy card. So we run this just to get rid of the infinite value amulets, because we cannot keep up with an infinite value amulet. We don't have one of our own. This is stuff like Dragoncraft, like Lashina amulets, stuff like that. Even a sword, Cast of the Sky, can be useful for, or Oh, I almost forgot Leonidas, right? So, very essential card to have for Haven. Other than that, you know, it's decent. It's a 4 play point quick. You don't gain anything else like the Acolyte's Light, which is a banish and a heal, but yeah, it's pretty much a must run for any control kind of archetype. Alright, moving on, we have Odette, White Swan. Fanfare, give +2 to your leader and each other follower on the field. Last words do the same. So a very, very just staple good card. You heal 4 and you buff your board by 4 health, which is not that impactful unless you can slam down Archpriestess Lila. Right? So all of a sudden you're buffing your board by essentially 4 attack. If you can play down Lila as well. The only problem is, again, like I said before, you're pretty board locked in Haven, so you're not likely going to have a lot of other followers. But even if you just have one other, and you buff it twice, and then you put down Lila, or even if Lila is already down, Lila becomes what? A 10 attack? This becomes maybe a 6 or something. You can do a surprising amount of burst with this little package, the Lila package. And another contributor to it is a very, very interesting card. Unidentified Subject. What does this do? Well, with Laya, it's a 7 attack card. That's the main thing, and it catches people off guard, right? Because you can't remove it easily. And if you play Unidentified Subject first, you're not expecting much damage, like 3. Then you slam down a Laya, it becomes 7. It also has a useful evo, which is if you evo for 2, you draw 2 cards. Now, why do you want to draw 2 cards? It's because both evo and the base version have the effect whenever you draw a side outside of your start phase, so not your start of turn draw, this gets buffed by +1/+1. So immediately if you evolve, it becomes a 5/9. And so people are like, okay, 5/9, that's pretty scary, but it's fine, you know. But then Laya comes down and becomes 9 attack. The draw is also pretty good if you really need it. Now, is this combo good or consistent with kind of all these health buffing effects? No, not really. If you get it off, it's quite nice. However, it's not that often you get it off. I just really like the package though. I think it's quite good on its own, even without all the synergies. And if you do pull it off, it's game winning almost. So yeah, I like it. It might be replaced for a float package in the future because it is quite expensive, right? 5,444 for the package, but it's worked decently well. So I wouldn't sniff at it, let's say. Next is just a spell, a Gloryfinder spell. New one, Themis' Purge. This one is not as global as the other Themis, but when this card is discarded by enemy ability, select the enemy following the field, destroy it, draw a card. So it does have some inbuilt protection. It's also a quick, so quick, select an opponent, destroy each follower on their field, give leader +1 for each follower destroyed. So a bit of drawback and advantage. 1 is that you don't get rid of your own followers, but 2, you only affect 1 opponent. The health is kind of irrelevant. Maybe you get rid of 2 or 3, which is extra 2 or 3 health. Not that relevant. The quick does make it better, so you can trick opponent into playing more cards down. However, as with the other quick spells, I find it hard to float enough play points to be able to use them on opponent's turns, just because of the way this deck is built. The discard is fine. You have stuff like Abyss, which loves discarding cards from your hand, so This can be a way to keep card advantage, but it's not like you really want to discard it, right? Moving on to the 6 drops, we have Curate. This is just a solid card. 6 play point, heal 5, draw a card. Not really much else to say about it, right? It's just a solid card. It combos very well with something like Loki. Gain 10 health, draw 2 cards for just 6 is, well, that's pretty much a Seraph. But yeah, this is, you know, you would think it's a bit too expensive and a bit too clunky, but every time I've played this card, it's been very good. I've enjoyed it. It feels good in the deck. So I wouldn't really consider it as a replacement just yet. Then we have Soulkeeper. Fanfare, select the enemy following your field that costs 4 play points or less, banish it. Alright, so it's just a generalized removal spell, removal follower with the banish spell effect as well. If you evolve it though, it has a very nice effect. Let the Haven follower in your cemetery, add it to your hand. So Haven has a surprising amount of recursion, some revival effects, which I guess is in theme, although that seems to mainly be reserved for Abysscraft. But this can be very good just for bringing back one of your win cons to have another go, right? Maybe Gold Ship or Aegis. Maybe not Aegis because then you don't have the Evo, but still could work. In general though, I've found it best just to bring back a mid-sized, mid-playpoint cost follower that brings back or keeps your advantage. Overall though, both effects are very good, so this is definitely a must include in the deck. It's just a very nice solid staple card. Next we have Gene Alta, or Dark Gene. Gene Alta is run kind of similar to the reason why the other Gene, the base Gene, is run. The Fanfare deal 2 damage to each other following the field. So again, nice board clear. The give each follower on your field +2 is a little bit anti-synergistic, especially when we think of Liar, because it doesn't give health, it gives attack, and the Fanfare removes health. So it's actually a little bit anti-synergistic to the deck as a whole. The Evo though is so good that I think it's worth it. So the Evo is if your leader's health is at least 5, select the enemy following the field, deal it 4 damage, and each enemy leader. So you deal 4 to a follower, and each enemy leader takes 4, that's 12 damage on an Evo. It Evos for 1, so 7 play point total. And you can rush in with the 6/6 trade. Quite good. I think, you know, you can consider changing this for maybe another high cost, you know, strong follower. But as of the current moment, there doesn't seem to be anything better for Gene for the booster set I am currently on, which is Omens of the 10. Hey, it's a good card. It's not the greatest. I think it could be changed, but we'll see. Next we have Aether of the White Wing. This is a very important card because Fanfare, search your deck for a Haven follower with a different name less than your maximum play points, put on your field. So you can essentially search for any Havencraft follower and put on your field. This is just an insanely broken effect. And the combo to watch out for is Seraph. Counts down. You pull these 2 cards into your Elixir that costs 0. Then what you do is you play Loki the first turn to set up, and then the next turn you play Aether to summon 2 followers of any cost if you're at 10. So for instance, you could go for Gold Ship, which is a double flip, You could go for, let's say, Curate, which is just a very strong deal 10, draw a card. You could go for, I don't know, Gene is fine to gain 2. There's just so many possibilities. You can bring back 2 amulets. You can, what else? I mean, you can pull Aegis, of course, even though it doesn't have a fanfare. That's probably just good in and of itself. You can pull Laya, right? Laya's good. The berries 2 as well. It's just really a really strong combo, right? So you can choose 2 of any of these, which are all very strong. So that is the combo right there. Even without the double fanfare though from Loki, it's still, you just get anything you want, and what more could you ask for? So again, the combo is Seraph into one of these 2. Then you play Loki on the first turn for 0. You do your other plays. Then on the next turn, you slam this down and you get like a massive board advantage. Very nice. A very strong card, this Ether of the White Wing. Some other strong cards you can consider pulling for their fanfare or doubling their fanfare. There's TM Opera O. Fanfare, select the enemy following the field, banish it, and draw a card. Very simple effect. We have a lot of similar effects as well, but this comes on a 6/6 body. Arguably, it's kind of weak because it's so expensive. It does tend to be a brick in your hand. However, I do quite like it. Still needs some further testing though. But for instance, this on this with a doubled fanfare is just so much advantage. And if you do get the Aether off, suddenly you have a big board, which is not easy to have in Haven. Mainly because all the high cost minions are the only ones which have big stats, and you can't really play more than 1 per turn. So it is hard to keep that advantage on board to build a big board for Haven. Then we have just generically good cards to help finish off the game, even though they don't automatically do so. We have, of course, Lucifer. If you evo, deal 4 to each. If you don't evo, you heal 4 each time. Nothing much else to say there. You just do whichever side of Lucifer you need. The 4 health isn't really that much though, but it can be useful. Then we also have Chorus of Prayer. So this is an interesting one. Select 3 amulets that cost 5 or less and put them onto your field. So it's an enhanced version of the Cruel Priestess. I've found it's kind of 50-50 for this one. Half the time, you can't play it because your board is full. The other half of the time, you do play it and you get those nice amulets back, but your hand is so full that if you draw from them, it's like you're starting to overcap. So it can be a very big swing. However, like half the time, you kind of don't even want to play it. That being said though, the times you do want to play it and you can play it, very powerful, very nice. Alright, and then again, another high cost follow. This one shouldn't be a surprise, it's Israfil. We talked about this quite a bit, fanfare, gain 4, strike, deal 3, or evo, strike, deal 5. Just everything you would want in a card, so very nice card to pull off. Becomes fanfare, heal 8 as well if you Loki it, so that's decent. Then we have Grimnir. Grimnir is 3 plus 2 plus 4, so that is a 9 cost effect to deal 4 to everything. You never would play it as a 3, maybe if you have too much hand space and you need to get rid of it, but generally you don't want to do that. You do want to save it for the 9-drop play as a board clear and as a leader wipe, or a leader attack you should say. It's not one of the stronger ones, but it can be useful. Perhaps if you had a different endgame card, you could replace Grimnir with it. Other than that though, this is the best you have for now. Then we have Bahamut. Bahamut, Fanfare, destroy each other follower on the field. If you evolve for 0, destroy each other amulet on the field. Now, this is kind of a double-edged sword, right? Because 1, you get rid of your own followers. 2, you get rid of your own amulets. But sometimes you just have to. The thing with Haven amulets is that they're kind of early and mid-game focused. Whereas amulets in other classes are, a lot of them are late game focused. They have like infinite value, which Haven doesn't have yet. So it's often overall better to blow up your own amulets as long as you get rid of some of the other amulets that are threatening you in the long run. Aside from that though, it's just a big follower. You mainly use it as just a board and amulet clear though. The stats don't matter. If you can pull it off, so this is a fine pull off of the White Wing of Aether. However, you don't want double the Fanfare because that does nothing. Alright, the very last card. I did lie. We do have one last amulet in the deck. And it is Hair of Illusions. 0 play points, huh? What does it do? Well, if you tap, put this card into your cemetery, and you just engage a follower. That is all it does. All it does is engage. Doesn't do anything else, it just engaged. However, there is another effect, but only if you pay 10. Put this card into your cemetery, banish each follower on the field. Each follower on the field. That includes your own. So it's a total board wipe, banish board wipe for 10. This card is quite bad, I must say. This card is quite bad. I don't think there's been a single time where I've used the 10 cost effect. And there's been very few times as well where I've used the tap effect. So why do I play this? Well, let me tell you a story. There is a card called Hair of Illusions in the digital Shadowverse version. What it is a 1 play point countdown amulet that counts for 3. At the end of countdown, it summons a Dream Hair. And when that Dream Hair dies, it summons a Hair of Illusions. So it is technically an infinite combo, an infinite value amulet. But it sucks, right? Like all you get is a 1/3 ward. The value is actually, it's just an infinite board lock, in fact. Like you don't even want to play, it's such a bad card. However, with Eidolon, which is a card we haven't got yet, what that does is destroy every single one of your amulets each turn. So that even if the hair gets destroyed, you don't have to wait 3 for it to resummon again. You can have it summon again the next turn immediately with the Eidolon. However, even with that, it's still bad. It's still like the absolute shittiest meme deck of all. But I loved that deck. It was so funny. So you would have 3 hairs on your board with amulet like countdown 1, 2, 3, and with absolutely no pressure. You'd slam down the Eidolon, all the rabbits would pop up, then they would like clear your board, including the Eidolon, and then you're stuck with only 2 board slots left for the rest of the game. And these ones are slowly counting down for no value. I wish they had put some sort of infinite value on this card, but I think the effect is actually much better here, even though it's still not good. But yeah, that is the main reason I run it, is because it's such a meme card. And it was so fun to do such a bad meme deck. And that being said though, I like the art as well. I like the theming of it, and it's a bunny. You know, Haven needs to have more bunnies. Please print more bunnies so that I can create an entire Gloryfinder Haven bunny deck. That is what we need. Get on it. Cygames, Bushiroad, whoever. Get on it. More bunnies. Alright. That's it. Peace.